Somebody
Jinwoo
help!
kicked through the
Help, my
emergency
mother has
room
been
doors like
shot!
they were paper.
She's dying, please!
For help! Somebody help. His mother was limp in his arms, blood soaking through her shirt and onto his hands. Her head lolled against his shoulder. Her breathing was shallow, rattling. A nurse looked up from the reception desk, eyes widening. Oh my God. She's been shot. Jinwoo's voice cracked. She's been shot, please, you have to. 2 ER doctors and 3 nurses materialized instantly, rushing forward with a gurney. Put her down, son. Put her down right here. Jinwoo laid Adeola on the gurney as gently as he could, his hands shaking so badly he could barely let go. Blood covered his shirt, his arms, his face where he'd cradled her against him in the car. Gunshot wound to the chest, one doctor said, ripping open her shirt to assess the damage. Entry wound left side, no exit. Bullets still in there. BP's dropping, 90/60 and falling. Get her to OR2, now. Page Dr. Kowalski. Tell him it's a GSW, critical. They were already moving, wheeling her away at a run. Jinwoo tried to follow. A nurse stopped him, hand on his chest. You can't go back there, honey. They need to work. That's my mother. I know. But you need to let them do their job. Her voice was kind but firm. What's her name? Adeola. Adeola Okafor. How old is she? 43. Any medical conditions we should know about? Jinwoo's mind was blank. He couldn't think. Couldn't breathe. All he could see was his mother throwing herself in front of that bullet. Throwing herself in front of him. Jinwoo walked to the waiting area and collapsed into a plastic chair. His hands were covered in his mother's blood. He stared at them, uncomprehending. She took a bullet for me. She took a bullet for me. The woman who'd given up everything, her country, her family, her entire life, to keep him safe. Who'd run from continent to continent, identity to identity, never complaining, never asking why her life had become this nightmare. And now she might die because of him. Because of blood he didn't ask for. Because of a father he'd never known. Because of an inheritance he'd just rejected. He sat back, his mind moving in 100 directions at once. They think they won. They think she's dead. They think I'm dead. His phone buzzed. One of his men. Number's a burner but the carrier trace puts it in Seoul. 100% your father's people. Seoul. The family that tried to kill his mother when she was pregnant. The family that hunted them for 18 years. The family that just put a bullet in her chest. Jinwoo looked down at his bloody hands and made a decision. He pulled up attorney Kim Sun-hee's contact. It was almost midnight in Toronto, which meant it was afternoon in Seoul. She answered on the second ring. Jinwoo. I wasn't expecting. I changed my mind. Silence. About what? The inheritance. I want it. All of it. Attorney Kim's voice shifted, becoming all business. What happened? They sent assassins. Kidnapped my mother. Tried to kill us both. We got out, but she. His voice caught. She's in surgery. I don't know if she'll make it. I'm so sorry. I don't want your sympathy. I want what's mine. The trust. The businesses, the clan, everything my father, Park Jin-woo left me. Can you do that? Yes. But Jinwoo, you need to understand what you're asking for. The moment you claim that inheritance, you declare war on Yoon Mi-rae and her daughters. They won't stop. They'll come at you with everything. Good. Let them come. I'll be ready. I'm Park Jin-woo's son. That's all that matters. He took a breath. How long will it take? The legal paperwork? About 7 days. But taking actual control of the assets and the clan? That's more complicated. Weeks, maybe months. I don't have months. Start the paperwork. Tonight. I want every legal claim filed by tomorrow morning, Seoul time. I want Yoon Mi-rae to wake up and find out her world is ending. Attorney Kim was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, there was something like respect in her voice. I'll start immediately. But Jinwoo, your father left you something else. Something he made me promise to only give you if you truly claimed your inheritance. What? Jinwoo's grip tightened on the phone. His father. The man who'd died before Jinwoo was born. The man who'd left him this poisoned legacy. had left him one final gift. Send me everything. It's already on its way. Encrypted. I'll send you the password separately. Good, see you soon. Jinwoo hung up. He sat there in the waiting room, covered in his mother's blood, and for the first time in his life, he understood his father. Park Jinwoo had been a monster. A criminal. A man who'd hurt people, destroyed lives, built an empire on blood and fear. But he'd also been a man who'd loved Adeola enough to give her everything. To protect her and their son even from beyond the grave. And now Jinwoo would honor that legacy in the only way that mattered. By burning down everyone who tried to hurt them. Yoon Mi-rae sat in her office, staring at her phone. Waiting. She'd been waiting since 11 p.m. Seoul time, midnight in Toronto. That's when the assassins were supposed to strike. When the maid and her bastard son would finally be eliminated. Years and years of searching. 18 years of hiring investigators, burning through millions in payments to informants, living with the knowledge that somewhere out there, Park Jinwoo's true heir existed. And today, it would end. Her phone buzzed. She grabbed it so fast she nearly dropped it. A message from Kwon Jae-sung. It's done. Just received confirmation from the team. Yoon Mi-rae's hand trembled. She read it again to make sure. It's done. A photo came through. Adeola tied to a chair in some warehouse, terror in her eyes. Consider it done. Awaiting final payment. Yoon Mi-rae allowed herself a smile. A real smile. The first genuine one in 18 years. She stood and walked down the hall to the family conference room where Hyojin, Suah, and Kwon Jae-sung waited. They all looked up as she entered. Well, Hyojin demanded. Did they? It's done. Yoon Mi-rae set her phone on the table so they could all see the photo. The maid is dead. Suah's hand went to her mouth. Not in horror, in relief. And the brat. Kwon Jae-sung leaned back in his chair, lighting a cigarette. Walking into his own execution as we speak. The team set up a perfect trap. He thinks he's rescuing his mother. Instead, he's walking into an ambush. By now. He checked his watch. They've probably on their way to heaven. Silence. Hyojin burst into laughter. 18 years. 18 years of looking over our shoulders. And it's finally over. My biggest obstacle is out of the way, Yoon Mi-rae said, sitting at the head of the table. With no heir to claim it, the trust dissolves soon, the estate returns to the family. To us. How long until it's official? Suah asked. Attorney Kim will fight it, but without a living heir, she has no legal standing. 6 months. Maybe less. Yoon Mi-rae poured herself a glass of whiskey, expensive, aged, her late husband's favorite. To Park Jinwoo's final mistake. May it rot with him in hell. They all raised their glasses. To the end of the bastard, Kwon Jae-sung said. They drank. None of them noticed the fatal flaw in their plan. The assassins had sent their proof of capture photo, the one showing Adeola tied up, alive. But they'd never sent a second photo. Never sent proof of death. Because they'd never gotten the chance. They'd died in that warehouse, cut down by Jinwoo's rescue team before they could complete the job. And now, in a Toronto hospital, the dead heir was very much alive. And he was coming for them. Jinwoo hadn't moved from the waiting room in 4 hours. The blood on his hands had dried to a dark brown. He'd refused to wash it off. Refused to change clothes. Refused everything except water and the chair he sat in, staring at the surgery doors. Finally, they opened. A surgeon emerged, still in scrubs, pulling off his mask. His expression was unreadable. Jinwoo stood so fast his chair fell backward. Is she? Your mother is alive. Jinwoo's knees nearly gave out. He grabbed the back of another chair to steady himself. The bullet missed her heart by less than 2 centimeters, the surgeon continued. Punctured her left lung, fractured a rib, caused significant internal bleeding. But we got it out. Repaired the damage. She's stable. Can I see her? She's in recovery. Sedated. She won't be conscious for several more hours. The surgeon's expression softened. Son, I don't know what happened tonight, and honestly, I don't want to know. But your mother is incredibly lucky. Another inch to the right and there's nothing we could have done. When will she wake up? Hard to say. Could be hours. Could be a day or two. Her body needs time to heal. The trauma was extensive. But she'll live. Barring any complications, yes. She'll live. Jinwoo closed his eyes. Felt something break inside him, some dam he'd been holding back since the moment she fell. Thank you, he managed. Thank you. We'll move her to ICU in about an hour. You can see her then. But son. The surgeon gestured at Jinwoo's bloody clothes. Maybe clean up first. When she wakes up, that's not what she should see. Jinwoo nodded. The surgeon left. Jinwoo stood in the waiting room, and for the first time in 4 hours, he let himself cry. Not from fear. Not from relief. From rage. Pure, incandescent rage. They did this. They shot my mother. They tried to kill us both. And they think they won. He pulled out his phone. Dialed a number he hadn't in months. Choi Dae-ho answered immediately. His voice was alert despite the early hour. Young master, my mother was shot. She's alive, but barely. Who did it? Yoon Mi-rae. Kwon Jae-sung. The family. Jinwoo's voice was flat. Dead. They sent assassins. Professional contractors. They're all dead now, but they got a message out before they died. The family thinks we're both gone. Choi Dae-ho was silent for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was cold with fury. Your father had men loyal to him. Men who've been waiting 18 years for you to call on us. What do you need? I need soldiers. I need weapons. I need passage to Seoul. Jinwoo looked down at his mother's blood on his hands. And I need the Biko clan to know that Park Jinwoo's son is coming home. When? As soon as my mother is stable enough to be moved to a secure location. I'll make the arrangements. Young master, your father would be proud. My father is dead. And the people who made my mother's life hell are about to join him. Jinwoo hung up. He walked to the men's room, finally ready to wash his mother's blood from his hands. But he didn't wash away the memory of how it got there. He'd carry that with him to Seoul. And he'd make sure Yoon Mi-rae understood exactly what she'd created. As soon as Adeola was stable, Jiwon Park, her closest ally and friend, dropped everything to look after her while her son traveled to Seoul. The boardroom was immaculate. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Seoul. A massive conference table surrounded by 35 shareholders, old money, new money, corporate vultures who'd been circling since Park Jinwoo's death 18 years ago. Yoon Mi-rae stood at the head of the table in regal attire, her hair perfectly styled, makeup flawless. Every inch the corporate queen. Behind her, a presentation screen displayed the quarterly earnings. Impressive numbers. Growth across every sector. As you all know, I've only been able to act as a proxy for the Baekho Holdings. Despite that, revenue has thrived under my leadership. Revenue is up 23% year over year. Our real estate holdings have doubled in value. Our construction contracts. Mrs. Park, one of the older shareholders, interrupted Chairman Lim, a man done business with her husband for 30 years. We appreciate your efforts, but let's address the elephant in the room. The rumors about your husband's illegitimate son. The room shifted uncomfortably. Yoon Mi-rae's smile didn't waver. Rumors. Nothing more. Park Jinwoo had no other children besides my 3 daughters. The minor problems concerning the inheritance has been settled. But the trust. The trust was a fantasy, Yoon Mi-rae said firmly. A dying man's delusion about a child that never materialized. We have confirmed that no legitimate heir has come forward to claim the inheritance. Which means, as of last week, those assets have reverted to the family. It was a blatant lie. She clicked to another slide. Financial projections showing massive growth with the trust assets integrated. What you're looking at is the future of Biko Enterprise. With the full estate under our control, we're positioned to become one of the top 10 conglomerates in South Korea within 5 years. The only question is, she looked around the table, are you with me? Murmurs of approval. Nods. Kwon Jae-sung, sitting to her right, leaned back with a satisfied smile. Hyojin, on her left, was typing on her phone, barely paying attention. This was a formality. They'd bought off most of these shareholders months ago. Now then, Yoon Mi-rae continued, I'd like to call for a formal vote to officially name me as permanent CEO of Biko Enterprise, with full executive authority. A phone buzzed. Then another. Then 5 more. Shareholders pulling out their phones, faces changing from bored to confused to shocked. What's going on? Yoon Mi-rae asked, her smile finally slipping. Chairman Lim was staring at his phone, face pale. Mrs. Park, you need to see this. See what? He turned his phone around. A news alert. Yoon Mi-rae's blood turned to ice as soon as she saw it. That's impossible, she whispered. More phones. More alerts. People starting to talk over each other. Says he's claiming the inheritance. At Incheon Airport right now. Press conference. Hyejin looked up from her phone, face white. Mother. Turn on the news, someone said. Channel 5. His live. Kwon Jae-sung grabbed the remote, aimed it at the presentation screen behind Yoon Mi-rae. The financial projections disappeared. Replaced by a live news broadcast. KBS News, breaking. The headline scrolled across the bottom. Park Jin-woo's secret son returns to claim Biko Empire. And there, in the center of the screen, standing at a press conference podium at Incheon International Airport, was Jin-woo. The boardroom plunged into chaos. He looked exactly like the old photos of Park Jin-woo at 20. Same sharp eyes. Same commanding presence. Same aura that made you pay attention whether you wanted to or not. But there was something else. Something in his expression that was harder, colder, more dangerous than his father had ever been. Behind him stood Choi Dae-ho and 6 stone-faced men in black suits. Beside him was attorney Kim Sun-hee. A reporter's voice. Mr. Park, can you confirm you're Park Jin-woo's biological son? Jin-woo leaned into the microphone. When he spoke, his Korean was perfect, accentless, commanding. My name is Park Jin-woo Jr. I am the only son of Park Jin-woo, head of the Baekho clan and founder of Baekho Enterprise. DNA testing has confirmed my paternity. Attorney Kim Sun-hee, executor of my father's estate, has verified my legal claim to his inheritance. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. For 18 years, I've lived in exile. Hidden. Protected by my mother and my father's loyal men. But today, I'm done hiding. I've come to claim what is rightfully mine. In the boardroom, Yoon Mi-rae gripped the edge of the table so hard her knuckles went white. This can't be happening, she breathed. On screen, Jin-woo continued. My father left me a majority stake in his estate, including controlling shares in Biko Enterprise, all real estate holdings, and leadership of the Biko clan. As of this morning, I have formally claimed that inheritance. All assets are being transferred to my name as we speak. The reporters erupted in questions. Jin-woo raised a hand for silence. Got it immediately. I know there are people who will contest my claim. People who've grown comfortable living off my father's legacy while denying his actual heir. To those people, I say this. He looked directly into the camera. It felt like he was looking directly at Yoon Mi-rae. Enjoy it while you can. The press exploded with questions, but Jin-woo was already walking away, his security team forming a barrier as he headed toward a fleet of black Mercedes waiting at the curb. The broadcast cut back to the news anchors, their faces shocked. Unprecedented situation. Legal challenges certain to follow. Park Jin-woo's secret son. Kwon Jae-sung turned off the screen. The boardroom was silent. Every shareholder was staring at Yoon Mi-rae. She stood frozen at the head of the table, one hand still gripping the edge, the other hanging limply at her side. Her perfect composure had shattered. Her face had gone from pale to red to pale again. Her carefully styled hair looked suddenly disheveled even though she hadn't moved. Her elegant dress felt like a mockery. Now she just looked fragile. Mrs. Park, Chairman Lim said quietly. Is it true? Did you know about the son? Yoon Mi-rae's mouth opened. Closed. No sound came out. A younger shareholder said coldly, I just checked the filing. It's real. Attorney Kim submitted the share transfer deed to the corporate registry. He's the majority shareholder. Not you. The room erupted. This changes everything. Need to suspend the vote. Legal counsel immediately. The shareholder meeting has to be postponed till this is sorted. Silence. Yoon Mi-rae's voice cut through the chaos. She was breathing hard, her composure completely gone now. You're all cowards. Turning on me the moment. Her phone rang. She looked down at it. Unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answered. Attorney Kim's son. His voice filled the boardroom. Mrs. Park. I'm calling to inform you that as of 10 minutes ago, you've been removed as interim CEO of Biko Enterprise. Jinwoo Park has assumed the position effective immediately. You can't. I can. And I have. The paperwork is being filed as we speak. This is illegal. It's completely legal. Would you like me to explain the corporate bylaws you're violating by refusing to step down? Yoon Mi-rae's hand shook so badly she nearly dropped the phone. You've also been suspended from the board of directors. Your company credit cards have been cancelled. Your corporate accounts frozen. The line went dead. Yoon Mi-rae stood there, phone still at her ear, staring at nothing. Around her, shareholders were already standing, gathering their things, whispering to each other. Some were making calls, probably to their lawyers, probably to figure out how to align themselves with the new regime. Chairman Lim stopped at the door, looked back at her. One by one, they all left. Until only Yoon Mi-rae, Hyejin, and Kwon Jae-sung remained in the massive boardroom. C turned to Kwon Jae-sung, walked up to him and gave him a dirty slap. I gave you just one job, and you couldn't even do it right. She was yelling at the top of her voice. I'm sorry, something unforeseen must have happened. He apologized with clenched teeth, his cheek still tingling from the humiliation. Yoon Mi-rae's legs gave out. She collapsed into the nearest chair, her perfect posture finally broken. Hyejin was crying. Actual tears. Mother, what do we do? What do we? But Yoon Mi-rae wasn't listening. She was staring at the blank presentation screen where Jinwoo's face had been moments ago. Those eyes. Park Jinwoo's eyes. The same eyes that had looked at her across the dinner table for 30 years. The same eyes that had dismissed her, belittled her, chosen a foreign maid over her. Now staring at her from his son's face. Promising destruction. And for the first time in 18 years, for the first time since Park Jinwoo had died, Yoon Mi-rae felt true, bone-deep uncertainty. He's going to destroy us, she whispered. Park Jinwoo had never won through violence alone. He'd won through intelligence, strategy, fear. And his son had just demonstrated all three. The airport press conference wasn't about claiming his inheritance. It was about declaring war. And wars weren't won by the side that fought hardest. They were won by the side that understood the game. Yoon Mi-rae took a deep breath. Fixed her hair. Get out, she said quietly. Kwon looked confused. Get out. Both of you. I need to think. Mother, Hyejin started. Out. They left. Yoon Mi-rae walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows. Looked out over Seoul. The city her husband had ruled. The city she'd ruled in his absence. She pressed her palm against the glass. Felt the coldness seep into her skin. And made a decision. Yoon Mi-rae's day had been a nightmare. After the shareholders' meeting collapsed, she'd spent 8 hours on damage control. Calling attorneys. Calling allies. Calling anyone who might have information about what the hell had actually happened in Toronto. The answers she got made her blood run cold. The assassination team, 8 professional contractors, Eastern European, the best money could buy, had been wiped out. All of them. Dead in a Toronto warehouse. How? She demanded of her contact, a fixer who specialized in these things. 8 trained killers against Soak Little Punk. It wasn't just the boy, the fixer had said nervously. He had a team. Military-grade operators. They hit the warehouse like a tactical strike force. Your people never stood a chance. Who were they? Russians? Americans? Don't know. But Mrs. Park. Whoever that kid has protecting him, they're not amateurs. They're soldiers. I'd prefer that you never contact me again. He hung up. That's when she'd understood. Park Jinwoo's loyal men. The ones who'd disappeared when he died. The ones everyone assumed had scattered or retired. They'd been protecting his son all along. Now it was nearly midnight. Yoon Mi-rae sat in her Mercedes as it pulled through the gates of the family mansion. Kwon Jae-sung was beside her, on his phone, still trying to salvage something from the wreckage of their day. Hyejin had gone to her own apartment hours ago, too shaken to face her mother. I don't care what it costs, Kwon was saying into his phone. I want a full security detail at the mansion. 24-hour surveillance. If that boy comes anywhere near. He stopped mid-sentence. Yoon Mi-rae looked up from her own thoughts. The mansion's lights were on. All of them. Every window blazing like it was hosting a party. But they'd left the house dark this morning. Did you leave the lights on? Kwon asked. No. They exchanged a look. Kwon pulled out his pistol from the glove compartment. Checked the magazine. Stay in the car. I'll check. Don't be stupid, Yoon Mi-rae said sharply. If someone's in there, they've already seen us arrive. Sitting in the car makes us targets. She opened her door, stepped out. The mansion loomed above them, every window glowing. It should have looked welcoming. Instead it looked ominous. Wrong. They walked to the front entrance. Kwon tried the door. Unlocked. He pushed it open slowly, gun raised. The foyer was empty. Pristine. Nothing disturbed. But someone had been here. Someone was here. Yoon Mi-rae could feel it. That instinct she'd developed over 30 years of living in the underworld. The sense that she was being watched. Check the house, she told Kwon quietly. I'll check my office. You should wait. Just do it. Kwon nodded reluctantly and headed toward the east wing, his gun still drawn. Yoon Mi-rae walked down the hallway toward her private office. The one that used to be Park Jin-woo's. The one she'd claimed the day he died. The door was ajar. Light spilled out into the hallway. She pushed it open. And froze. Someone was sitting in her chair. The high-backed leather chair behind the massive mahogany desk. The chair that had been Park Jin-woo's throne for 40 years. The chair she'd claimed as her own. The chair was turned away from her, facing the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the mansion's gardens. She could see a silhouette. Young. Male. Relaxed posture. Who the hell are you? Yoon Mi-rae's voice came out stronger than she felt. How did you get in here? The chair turned slowly. Deliberately. Like a movie villain's reveal. And there he was. Jin-woo. Park Jin-woo Jr. Sitting in his father's chair like he'd been born to it. He was wearing a black suit, expensive, perfectly tailored. His hands were folded calmly in his lap. His expression was neutral. Almost bored. But his eyes. God, those eyes. Sharp. Intelligent. Dangerous. Exactly like his father's. Yoon Mi-rae felt her breath catch in her throat. It was like seeing a ghost. Park Jin-woo at 20, resurrected and sitting in the same chair, staring at her with the same calculating gaze that had dismissed her 1,000 times. She started, but her voice faltered. The boy she'd seen on television earlier. The heir who'd humiliated her in front of the shareholders. The target who'd survived 18 years of assassination attempts. He was here. In her home. In her office. How? Good evening, Mrs. Park, Jin-woo said. His Korean was perfect. Accentless. His tone was polite, almost respectful. But there was ice underneath. I hope you don't mind me letting myself in. Your security is lacking. Yoon Mi-rae's hand moved instinctively toward the desk drawer where she kept a pistol. I wouldn't, Jin-woo said mildly, not moving. Your gun is in my coat pocket. Along with the 3 others you have hidden around this office. You really should update your hiding spots. Her hand froze. How did you? I had all night to explore. He gestured vaguely at the office. Nice space. Though stench in the air is unbearable. He was toying with her. Playing with her like a cat with a mouse. Yoon Mi-rae forced herself to stand straight. To meet his gaze without flinching. You have a lot of nerve breaking into my home. Your home? Jin-woo's eyebrow raised slightly. This mansion belongs to Park Jin-woo. Built on land owned by Biko Enterprise, which I now control. If anything, you're trespassing. This is my house. I've lived here for 30 years. And you'll be gone in 48 hours, Jin-woo finished calmly. I gave you a deadline. I suggest you start packing. Yoon Mi-rae's jaw clenched. Rage was building in her chest, hot and violent. How dare this child, this bastard, sit in her husband's chair and threaten her? She chuckled. You talk a big game for a young lad. Her voice was shaking now. You're 18 years old. A child. Do you even know what it takes to run an empire? I know more than you think. Jinwoo stood slowly, gracefully. He was tall, taller than his father had been. Lean but strong. You see, I've found myself to be quite a celebrity, enough for someone to try to kill me. He walked around the desk, each step measured and deliberate. He tilted his head slightly, studying her. And when I find those kind people, don't you think they deserve a personal thank you from me? Jinwoo quipped. Yoon Mi-rae felt something she hadn't felt in decades. Fear. Real, primal fear. This boy, no, this young man wasn't just Park Jin-woo's son. He was something worse. Something colder. More calculating. Park Jin-woo had been brutal, but he'd also been passionate. Emotional. Capable of love and hate in equal measure. This boy showed nothing. His face was a mask. His voice was calm. But his eyes promised destruction. What do you want? She asked, hating how small her voice sounded. Jinwoo smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. I want you to enjoy your last moments at the top, he said softly. Before the empire crumbles to ashes around you. Before you lose everything, money, power, reputation, freedom. I want you to remember that you had a choice. To leave us alone, but you didn't. He took a step closer. So now I'm going to take everything from you. The office door slammed open. Kwon Jae-sung burst in, gun raised, face twisted with fury. Get away from her. Jinwoo didn't even flinch. Didn't turn. Just kept his eyes locked on Yoon Mi-rae. Your lapdog is very protective, he said mildly. Kwon crossed the room in 3 strides, grabbed Jinwoo's shoulder with his free hand, the one not holding the gun. You little piece of... He never finished the sentence. Jinwoo turned his head slowly, looked down at Kwon's hand on his shoulder, then up at Kwon's face. The look in his eyes made Kwon freeze. I'd be careful if I were you, Jinwoo said, his voice dropping to something cold and dead. You might lose that hand. Is that a threat? Kwon snarled, though his voice shook slightly. No. Jinwoo gestured toward the window behind the desk. That's a threat. Kwon looked down at his hand, the one gripping Jinwoo's shoulder. There was a small red dot on his wrist. Laser sight. From outside. From the gardens. A sniper. Kwon jerked his hand back like he'd been burned, stumbling backward, his gun wavering. What the? You didn't think I'd come here alone, did you? Jinwoo said conversationally, adjusting his shoulder where Kwon had grabbed him. He brushed off his suit jacket. Touch me with again, and you won't have hands left to grab with. The red dot moved from Kwon's wrist to his forehead. Kwon went absolutely still. Jinwoo looked at Yoon Mi-rae one last time. Perhaps you do not yet understand the ways of we Koreans cause you are an outsider. You'll have to win the approval of the majority at the clan meeting to become the clan head. I doubt they'd want to be led by a greenhorned brat, Yoon Mi-rae said. Trying to remain calm and confident at the same time. She'd lost control of the company for now, but there was no way an upstart brat could claim the clan head title from under her grasp, a position she had molded into hers with every trick in the book. I guess we'll have to see then. I expect to see you there. His smile returned, sharp and cruel. He walked toward the door, movements unhurried, completely calm. Past Kwon without a glance. Stopped at the threshold and looked back. Oh, and Mrs. Park? You might want to change the locks. Your security really is terrible. Then he was gone. His footsteps echoed down the hallway. The front door opened and closed. Moments later, the sound of car engines starting. Driving away. Silence. Yoon Mi-rae stood frozen in the center of her office, staring at the empty doorway. Kwon lowered his gun with shaking hands. The red dot had disappeared from his forehead, but he kept touching the spot like he could still feel it. That little bastard, he breathed. That fucking little. Shut up, Yoon Mi-rae said. We need to kill him. Tonight. Before. Shut up. Her voice cracked like a whip. Kwon fell silent. Yoon Mi-rae walked to her desk on trembling legs. Sat down heavily in her chair, the chair Jinwoo had been sitting in minutes ago. It was still warm from his body heat. She shuddered. He broke into our house, she said quietly. Past our guards. Past our security system. Sat in my office for God knows how long. Took all my weapons. And left without a scratch. The snipers are probably gone by now. He made his point. She looked at Kwon. Do you understand what just happened? An 18-year-old brat walked into the home of one of Seoul's most powerful crime families, threatened us to our faces, and walked out alive. Because he knew we couldn't touch him. She laughed hysterically, at the absurdity of her own words, of the reality unfolding before her very eyes. On the day of the meeting, she arrived 30 minutes early. She'd spent the past 10 hours working the phones, calling every lieutenant, every captain, every influential member of the 50-man council that made up the Biko clan's leadership, reminding them of favors owed, threats made, consequences if they betrayed her. You've been loyal to me for 5 years, she'd told Lieutenant Cho. Don't throw that away for a boy you've never met. His Park Jin-woo's blood, Cho had said nervously. Park Jin-woo is history now. I'm the one who's kept this clan running. I'm the one who's made you rich. Remember that. One call after another. Some had agreed. A few hadn't answered at all. She held all the power like an iron lady all these years. Certainty was supposed to be on her side, yet she felt an unsettling feeling welling up within her. Out of 50 votes, she had at least 35 locked down. Maybe 45 if the fence-sitters fell her way. That was more than enough. Jin-woo could have his father's name and his dramatic press conferences. But the clan followed power, not bloodlines. And she had power. Now she sat at the head of the conference table. Kwon Jae-sung sat to her right. Hyejin to her left, carefree as always. The 50 lieutenants filed in slowly, taking their seats around the massive table. Some nodded respectfully to Yoon Mi-rae. Others avoided her eyes. The doors opened. Everyone turned. Jin-woo walked in. He wore a black suit, perfectly tailored. No tie. White shirt open at the collar. His hands were in his pockets, posture relaxed, like he was walking into a cafe instead of a room full of hardened criminals. Behind him came Choi Dae-ho and 6 of Park Jin-woo's old guard. The room went silent. And then, it happened. One by one, the men at the table stood up. Not to challenge him. To bow. Lieutenant Kim Sang-woo was first. The old man who'd served under Park Jin-woo's father. He stood, placed his right fist over his heart in the traditional Biko salute, and bowed deeply. Young master, he said clearly. Then Lieutenant Cho. Then Park Min-ho. Then Jung Tai-woon. One after another after another. About half of the men stood. Bowed. Saluted. Yoon Mi-rae watched in growing horror as the men she'd spent all night lobbying, the men who'd promised her their loyalty, stood and acknowledged Jin-woo. She felt her stomach drop. Had he somehow gained their favor? Somehow swayed them to his side? She wanted to believe it was just a formality. Only a handful remained seated. Kwon's direct loyalists. Men who owed him money or feared him more than they respected Park Jin-woo's memory. But it didn't matter. The vote would decide everything. Jin-woo walked to the opposite end of the table, the end farthest from Yoon Mi-rae. He didn't sit. Just stood there, hands still in his pockets, looking around the room with those sharp, intelligent eyes. Thank you for coming, he said quietly. His voice wasn't loud, but everyone listened. I know this is unusual. Most of you have never met me. Some of you didn't even know I existed until a few days ago. He paused. But you all knew my father. Murmurs of agreement. Park Jin-woo built this clan from nothing. Turned it into one of the most powerful organizations in Seoul. He did that through strength, intelligence, and loyalty. Jin-woo's gaze swept the room. He also did it through fear. Through violence. Through methods that made enemies and left scars. He let that hang in the air. I'm not my father. I won't pretend to be. But I am his son. His heir. And I'm here to honor his legacy by transforming what he built into something that can survive the next 40 years. Yoon Mi-rae couldn't stay silent anymore. This is absurd, she said, standing. You've never run an organization. Never managed men. Never made the hard decisions that leadership requires. Neither had my father when he started, Jin-woo interrupted calmly. He was 23 when he took control of this clan. Younger than most of you. But he had vision. Ambition. And the will to see it through. He finally looked directly at her. What he didn't have was someone actively trying to destroy him from within. Someone embezzling from clan accounts. Someone ordering hits without council approval. Was this the best you could come up with? Trying to accuse me falsely, Yoon Mi-rae scoffed. How dare you accuse my mother of such? Hyejin added, in support of her mother. Jinwoo pulled out a folder. Set it on the table. These are my father's private records. Detailed logs of every unauthorized transaction. Every unapproved operation. He slid the folder toward the center of the table. And the room erupted into chaos. Everything Mrs. Park and her family have done over the past 18 years out. All documented. All verified. Lieutenant Kim Sang-woo picked up the folder. Opened it. His face went from neutral to shocked to disgusted as he read. He passed it to the man next to him. It made its way around the table. Yoon Mi-rae felt her legs weaken. We should vote, she said quickly. Your false accusations can be investigated later. Right now, we need to determine leadership. I call for a formal vote. She tried to steer the conversation. The vote's already happened, Jinwoo said. She stared at him. What? Last night. Emergency session. 43 of the 50 council members attended via secure video conference. He gestured around the table. They voted unanimously to recognize me as the rightful head of the Biko clan, effective immediately. That's not valid. Council votes require physical presence. The bylaws were amended in 2019 to allow remote voting in emergency situations. Attorney Kim Sun-hee's voice came from the doorway. Everyone turned. She walked in, briefcase in hand, looking every inch the severe corporate lawyer. The vote was properly conducted, properly witnessed, and properly recorded. Mr. Park is now the official head of the Biko clan as well, by lawful succession and majority vote. She set her briefcase on the table, pulled out documents. Mrs. Park, Mr. Kwon, Ms. Park, you're hereby removed from all clan positions. Your access to clan resources is revoked. Your presence at this meeting is merely a courtesy to allow you to understand the transition. Yoon Mi-rae couldn't breathe. This couldn't be happening. She'd controlled this clan for years. Fought for every ounce of respect. Threatened, bribed, manipulated her way to the top. And this boy, this child, had dismantled everything in less than 48 hours. First you try to take my company and now my position as clan head? Yoon Mi-rae exploded. You can't do this. Jinwoo finally moved from his position. Walked slowly around the table until he stood directly across from her. I already did, he said simply. The clan is mine. The business is mine. The mansion, the accounts, the legacy, all mine. You have 24 hours to vacate the premises. After that, you'll be arrested for embezzlement and conspiracy to commit murder. He leaned forward slightly. I told you I was taking everything. Did you think I was bluffing? Kwon Jae-sung stood abruptly, his chair scraping loudly. You arrogant little. 3 guns appeared instantly. Choi Dae-ho and 2 other guards, weapons aimed at Kwon. Don't do anything foolish, Choi said quietly. Kwon looked around the room. Saw no support. No allies. Just cold faces and colder eyes. He backed down. Humiliated once again by a brat. Jinwoo straightened, addressing the room again. This clan has operated in the shadows for decades. That ends now. We're going legitimate. Transitioning all criminal operations to legal businesses over the next 12 months. Anyone who wants to stay will be given opportunities in our legitimate enterprises. Anyone who wants to leave will be given severance and safe passage. He paused. But anyone who tries to undermine this transition will be removed. Permanently. Are we clear? All voices answered as one. Yes, young master. Yoon Mi-rae felt the room spin. She'd lost. Completely and utterly. Jinwoo looked at her one last time. You're dismissed, Mrs. Park. Your daughter as well as your son-in-law, Kwon Jae-sung, as of today are absolved of their duties and have been dismissed from the council. I'll have security escort you out. What? Yoon Mi-rae stood with a puzzled expression. Don't get cocky with me, you bastard. You don't have the power to do that. I do in fact, have the power, Mrs. Park. Jinwoo's lips contorted into a smile. 2 guards appeared at her sides. Not roughly, but firmly. You can't do this to me, never, I won't let you get away with this, Yoon Mi-rae protested as she was being dragged out by the guards, like an unwanted guest in her own home. From the life she'd fought 18 years to control. As they led her out the door, Jin-woo had taken her seat at the head of the table. Sitting exactly where his father had sat decades ago. Looking exactly like Park Jin-woo reborn. The white tiger. The heir. The door closed behind her. And Yoon Mi-rae knew with absolute certainty that everything she'd built was gone. But she was not going to go down without a fight. The safe house was a cramped apartment in Gangnam. Temporary. Anonymous. The kind of place people went when they were in hiding. Yoon Mi-rae sat on a worn couch, staring at nothing. Her perfect hair was disheveled. Her designer suit wrinkled. The Ice Queen had melted into something desperate and raw. Hyejin paced the small living room, phone pressed to her ear. I don't care what it costs, she hissed into the phone. 5 million. Cash. For whoever takes him out. She paused, listening. Yes, I'm serious. Park Jin-woo Jr. The heir. I want him dead. She hung up. Looked at her mother. It's done. I've put the word out. $5 million bounty. Every assassin, every mercenary, every desperate gunman in Seoul will be hunting him by morning. Kwon Jae-sung stood by the window, smoking a cigarette, his face dark with rage. 5 million isn't enough, he said quietly. I'm going to kill him myself. Yoon Mi-rae looked up. Jae-sung. He humiliated me. Twice. Kwon crushed the cigarette in his palm, not even flinching at the burn. Made me look like a fool in front of my subordinates. He turned, and his eyes were wild. Unhinged. I'm going to put a bullet in that cocky lad's skull with my own hands. Make him beg. Make him cry for his whore mother before I. Stop it, Suah said from the corner. She'd been silent until now, curled up in a chair, arms wrapped around herself. Just stop. This is insane. We should leave. Take whatever money we have left and disappear. Run. Hyejin rounded on her. You want to run? Let that bastard win. He's already won. Suah stood, voice breaking. Don't you see? He has the business. The clan. The mansion. The proof of everything we've done. If we stay, we go to prison. If we fight, we die. Then we die fighting, Kwon said coldly. Better than living as cowards. He grabbed his jacket, checked the pistol tucked in his waistband. I've hired 12 men. Ex-military. The best I could find on short notice. We hit the mansion tomorrow night. Overwhelming force. Burn it to the ground. And if it fails? Yoon Mi-rae asked quietly. I'm not going to fail. He won't see me coming. Kwon walked to the door. Stopped. Looked back at Hyejin. When I come back, that brat will be gone and we take everything back. He left. The apartment fell into heavy silence. Hyejin sat down next to her mother. He'll succeed. He has to. But her voice shook with doubt. The mansion was quiet. Most of the lights were off. Only a few windows glowed from the upper floors where Jinwoo's security team maintained watch rotations. Kwon Jae-sung crouched in the gardens with 12 armed men spread out around him. All professionals. All expensive. All confident. Remember, he whispered into his radio. No survivors. I want the heir's body dragged out front where everyone can see it. Confirmations came back through his earpiece. He checked his watch. 11:35 p.m. Move in. Now. They advanced through the gardens in tactical formation. Silent. Weapons raised. Kwon reached the south entrance, a side door he knew wasn't usually guarded. He tested the handle. Unlocked. Too easy. Something in his gut twisted. But rage overrode caution. He pushed the door open. Gestured for his team to follow. They entered a dark hallway. Empty. Silent. Team 2, report, Kwon whispered. Static. Team 2. Nothing. That's when the lights came on. Blinding. Overwhelming. Flooding the entire mansion at once. Kwon's team froze, squinting against the sudden brightness. Then the gunfire started. Not from Kwon's men. From everywhere. The windows. The doorways. The upper floors. The gardens behind them. Jinwoo's security team had been waiting. Positioned. Ready. It wasn't a fight. It was an execution. Kwon's men dropped one by one. Clean headshots. Professional. Efficient. They'd walked into a killing box and hadn't even known it. Fall back. Kwon screamed. Fall back. But there was nowhere to go. Every exit was covered. Every escape route blocked. Within 90 seconds, 11 of his 12 men were dead. Only Kwon remained, diving behind a marble pillar, returning fire blindly, his heart hammering in his chest. Then the gunfire stopped. Hu's hands shook as he reloaded his pistol. Sweat poured down his face. Blood, not his, splattered his clothes. Kwon Jae-sung. The voice came from across the foyer. Calm. Almost conversational. Kwon leaned out from behind the pillar. Jinwoo stood at the top of the main staircase. Hands in his pockets. Flanked by Choi Dae-ho and 6 armed guards. Not a scratch on him. He looked down at Kwon like someone observing an interesting insect. I must say, I'm disappointed, Jinwoo said. Is this all you could come up with? If you wanted me dead, you should have tried a little harder. You bastard. Kwon raised his gun. 3 red dots appeared on his chest instantly. I wouldn't do that if I were you, Jinwoo said mildly. Kwon's gun was ripped from his hands by 2 guards who materialized behind him. They grabbed his arms, forced him to his knees on the blood-slicked marble floor. Let me, Geo. Kwon thrashed violently. Do you have any idea who I am? If anything happens to me, you'll pay. You'll. Sure, Jinwoo said, descending the stairs slowly. Let him go. The guards released Kwon's arms. Kwon stumbled to his feet, breathing hard, glaring up at Jinwoo with pure hatred. You think you've won? You think? The gunshot was deafening in the enclosed space. Kwon's left leg exploded. He crashed to the floor, screaming, clutching the shattered knee. Jinwoo stood over him, smoking pistol in hand. That's for my mom, he said quietly. Kwon writhed on the floor, his screams echoing through the mansion. Blood pooled beneath him, spreading across the white marble in a dark red stain. Jinwoo holstered the pistol. Looked at Choi Dae-ho. Get him medical attention. I want him alive for trial. Make sure he survives. Yes, young master. Jinwoo turned and walked away, leaving Kwon sobbing on the floor. Find the rest of them, Jinwoo called over his shoulder. Yoon Mi-rae drove like a demon, weaving through sparse late-night traffic. Hyejin sat in the passenger seat, constantly checking her phone. Suah was in the back, crying quietly. He should have called by now, Hyejin said for the 10th time. It's been hours. Why hasn't Jae-sung called? Because he failed, Suah sobbed. He's dead. Or captured. And we're next. Shut you, P. Hyejin screamed. Girls, please, Yoon Mi-rae started. Headlights appeared behind them. Multiple vehicles. Moving fast. Black SUVs. No, Yoon Mi-rae breathed. No. The SUVs boxed them in. Front. Back. Both sides. She slammed on the brakes. The car screeched to a halt in the middle of the highway. Armed men poured out of the SUVs. Surrounded the car. Weapons drawn. Get out, one shouted. Hands where we can see them. Yoon Mi-rae's hands trembled on the steering wheel. This was it. The end. Mom, Hyejin whispered. What do we do? Yoon Mi-rae looked at her daughters. Both terrified. Both looking to her for answers she didn't have. We get out, she said quietly. We face this with dignity. They opened the doors. Stepped out with hands raised. The men grabbed them. Not gently. Zip-tied their wrists. Pushed them toward one of the SUVs. As they were shoved into the back seat, Yoon Mi-rae caught sight of the driver. One of Jinwoo's men. Face expressionless. Where are you taking us? She asked. Back to Seoul, he said. The young master wants to see you. The door slammed shut. They were dragged into the mansion's main hall. Kwon Jae-sung was already there. Slumped in a chair, his shattered leg bandaged but clearly in agony. Medics had stabilized him, but he looked broken. Defeated. Jinwoo stood before the massive fireplace, hands clasped behind his back. He turned as they were brought in. We meet again, Mrs. Park, he said. I was hoping you'd do something this foolish. Yoon Mi-rae, Hyejin, and Suah were forced to their knees in front of him. Jinwoo walked to a nearby table, picked up a pistol, checked the magazine with practiced ease. Suara's composure shattered immediately. "Please," she begged. "Please, I didn't know about any of this. I wasn't part of the attack. If you just let me go, I'll disappear, you'll never." "Quiet," Jinwoo said softly. She fell silent, tears streaming down her face. Hyojin forced a smile. Nervous. Desperate. "We're siblings, aren't we?" she said, her voice shaking. "Half-siblings, but still family. Siblings are supposed to look out for each other, right? We could work together. I could help you run the business. I know all the operations, all the contacts." Jinwoo pointed the gun at Yoon Mi-rae. Both daughters screamed. But Yoon Mi-rae didn't flinch. Just stared at him with empty eyes. "If you want to kill me, just do it," she said flatly. Jinwoo tilted his head, studying her. "I'm curious," he said. "Which of your daughters do you think would take a bullet for you?" He swung the gun toward Hyojin. Yoon Mi-rae moved instantly, threw herself in front of her daughter, arms spread, shielding Hyojin's body with her own. "Don't," she screamed. Jinwoo lowered the gun. "You seem to care so much for your daughters," he said quietly. "And yet you don't seem to know what monsters they are." He holstered the pistol, walked to the table again, picked up a manila folder, threw it at Yoon Mi-rae's feet. "Pick it up." She stared at it. Then slowly, with shaking hands, reached down and picked it up. The label read, "Investigative Report, Park Min-ji, Cause of Death." Yoon Mi-rae's breath caught. Her youngest daughter. Dead 4 years ago. Heart attack, the doctors had said. She opened the folder with trembling fingers. Autopsy report. Toxicology analysis. Testimony from a maid named Sue Mi. Surveillance footage timestamps. Phone records. Line by line, the truth unfolded. The poison. The vial. Hyojin's orders. The tragic mistake when Min-ji drank the tea meant for Yoon Mi-rae. It was all there. Documented. Proven. Undeniable. Yoon Mi-rae's hands shook so violently the papers scattered to the floor. She turned slowly to Hyojin, tears streaming down her face. "How could you?" Her voice cracked. "How could you do that to your own sister?" "Mother, Hyojin's face was white. "It was an accident, I swear, I never meant for Min-ji to." "You killed her." Yoon Mi-rae lunged at her own daughter, hands reaching for her throat. Guards pulled her back, held her as she sobbed uncontrollably. "My baby," she wept. "You killed my baby girl. Your own sister. For what? How could you?" Hyojin was crying too now. "I'm sorry. Mother, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it wasn't supposed to be her." "You meant to kill me?" Yoon Mi-rae asked, the realization hitting her like a physical blow. "You were going to poison me." Hyojin couldn't meet her eyes. Yoon Mi-rae collapsed to her knees, all strength gone. The papers scattered around her. The truth of what her own daughter had done, what her own parenting had created, crushing her completely. Jinwoo watched in silence. This was his final blow. Not death. Not violence. Truth. The knowledge that Yoon Mi-rae's own teachings, her own cruelty, her own ruthless ambition had created a daughter capable of murdering her own sister. That she'd raised monsters and never known it. Just like she'd tried to destroy his mother's world, he'd shattered hers. But he'd done it without becoming a monster himself. He'd honored his mother's wish. Jinwoo pulled out his phone. "Send them in," he said. The main doors opened. Police officers flooded in. Detectives. Prosecutors. Led by a stern-faced woman in a dark suit. "Park Hyojin," the prosecutor said formally. "You're under arrest for the murder of Park Min-ji, conspiracy to commit murder, and attempted murder. Park Suar, you're under arrest for conspiracy and accessory to attempted murder. Yoon Mi-rae, you're under arrest for embezzlement, racketeering, conspiracy to commit murder, and ordering multiple assassinations." She turned to where Kwon Jae-sung sat slumped in his chair. "Kwon Jae-sung, you're under arrest for attempted murder, assault with a deadly weapon, and leading an armed attack on private property." The officers moved forward with handcuffs. Yoon Mi-rae didn't resist. Just stared at the scattered papers on the floor. The proof of her daughter's crime. The proof of her own failures. As they led her away, She looked back once at Jinwoo. You win, she said hollowly. You took everything. Are you satisfied? Jinwoo met her gaze. His expression was unreadable. I'm not satisfied, he said quietly. I'm just done. You tried to destroy my mother. You hunted me for 18 years. You killed your own daughter through your poison and your teachings. This isn't satisfaction. This is justice. Yoon Mirei had no answer. They took her away in handcuffs. Hyojin was screaming, struggling against the officers. Mother, mother. Suar went quietly, head down, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Kwon Jae-sung had to be carried out on a stretcher, his shattered leg unable to support him. The mansion fell silent. Jinwoo stood alone in the main hall, surrounded by his guards, looking at the spot where his father's family had knelt. Choi Dae-ho approached quietly. It's over, young master. You've won. Jinwoo nodded slowly. Call my mother. Tell her it's finished. Tell her she's safe now. And you? Jinwoo looked around the mansion. His father's house. His inheritance. The empire built on blood. I'm going to burn it all down, he said quietly, and build something better from the ashes. Jinwoo stood at his father's grave for the first time. It was a clear autumn morning. The cemetery was quiet, peaceful. A stark contrast to the chaos of the past 6 months. The headstone was simple. Elegant. He placed a bouquet of white chrysanthemums at the base. Knelt down. Touched the cold marble. I did what you asked, he said quietly. I claimed the inheritance. Took control of the clan. Protected Mom. He paused. But I didn't do it your way. The Biko clan doesn't exist anymore. Not the way you built it. I dissolved all the criminal operations. Shut down the gambling dens, the protection rackets, the smuggling networks. Turned everything legitimate. The wind rustled through the trees. Some of the old guard were angry. Said I was betraying your legacy. But most of them understood. They were tired, father. Tired of running. Tired of looking over their shoulders. You gave them a way to retire with dignity. With pensions. With clean records. Jinwoo smiled slightly. Biko Enterprise is thriving. Real estate. Construction. Technology investments. We're projected to be one of Korea's top corporations within 5 years. All legal. All clean. He stood, brushing dirt from his knees. Yoon Mi-rae was sentenced to life in prison. Hyojin got 20 for Minji's murder. Kwon got 12. Suar made a deal, testified against all of them, got 3 years with parole. She'll be out in 18 months. Jinwoo looked at the headstone. I don't know if you'd be proud of what I've done. Maybe you'd think I was weak. That I should have kept the empire the way you built it. But Mom taught me something you never learned, that power without honor is just another prison. He reached into his pocket. Pulled out the old photograph. The one of Park Jinwoo at 25. Young. Hopeful. Before everything went wrong. Jinwoo placed it against the headstone. You told Mom to tell me to break the cycle. I did. The blood stops with me. He bowed once. Deeply. Respectfully. Rest well, father. Your son is free. Jinwoo drove to the penthouse he'd bought for his mother in Gangnam. Top floor. Stunning views of the Han River. Adeola opened the door before he could knock. She'd fully recovered from the gunshot wound, though she moved a bit more carefully now. Jinwoo. She pulled him into a fierce hug. I made jollof rice. Your favorite. He smiled. Followed her inside. The penthouse was warm. Lived in. Photos of the two of them covered the walls, Toronto, London, even a few new ones from Seoul. They ate together at the dining table, talking about everything and nothing. His mother's new import business. Her charity work. His plans for Biko Enterprise. Are you happy? Adeola asked suddenly. Jinwoo looked at her. Really looked. I'm getting there, he said honestly. Some days are harder than others. But yeah. I think I'm getting there. She reached across the table, took his hand. Your father would have been proud. Not of the empire. Of you. The man you became. Jinwoo squeezed her hand. I had a good teacher. That evening, Jinwoo stood in his office at Biko Enterprise headquarters. floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline. He thought about the journey, the fear, the running, the violence, the choices. His phone buzzed. A message from Choi Dae-ho. The last of the transitions are complete. All former clan members have been relocated to legitimate positions or retired. The Biko name is clean. Jinwoo typed back. Good. We're done looking backward. Time to build forward. He set the phone down. Looked out at the city. His city now. Not through blood and fear. Through transformation and choice. Park Jinwoo's son had inherited an empire of darkness. And turned it into something that could face the light.
Subscribe for more amazing